brand new in the group and just delighted to connect with more of you. I am a sex therapist in Seattle. My name's Jessa Zimmerman, and I want to connect with you around desire discrepancy. So, if in your relationship, you're otherwise happy, you're connected, good partners, but sex is the issue, especially frequency of sex. I just want you to know you're not alone. It's really, really common. So if one of you wants more sex than the other, and that person feels rejected, frustrated, lonely, disappointed, and the other person who wants less sex feels, first of all, guilty that they don't want more. They care about their partner's needs and they're baffled by what has happened to their libido. This is desire discrepancy. And this is a struggle for so many people. In my sex therapy practice, um, I would actually say every single couple is struggling with desire discrepancy. Now, sometimes they're struggling with other things too, sexual dysfunction or other kinds of relationship issues, all kinds of things that can complicate this. But differences in desire are a common source of tension and even conflict and hard emotions. Uh, and so I want to talk a little bit about how desire discrepancy shows up in relationship, some of the things about it that make it difficult, and some of the typical ways people are going to struggle with it in their relationship in ways that you really don't have to. That's what I want you to understand. So in any relationship, really, there is desire discrepancy, at least over time. One person wants more sex than the other. Because if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Why would any two people want exactly the same amount of sex, right? They don't. Somebody is going to be the higher desire person, and one person is going to be the lower desire. And this is relative to your partner, okay? This is not like an absolute thing. We're not talking about somebody has high desire, like too much, or low desire, like too little. It's in relationship to each other, right? One is higher, one is lower. And in fact, if you think about it, sometimes you used to be maybe the higher desire person in your relationship, and now you're the lower, right? These are relative. These move. Maybe you were the lower desire person in a previous relationship, and in this one you're the higher, right? You get a sense that this is in relation to a particular partner at a particular point in time. So it's really important to understand that desire discrepancy is actually universal. Okay, there's always going to be a difference in interest in sex, at least over time. Maybe it doesn't feel that way in the very beginning of a relationship, and it's in relationship to each other. But there are a couple things about it that can make it a problem. See, because by itself, desire discrepancy is not a problem. Nothing is broken, nothing is going wrong. This is normal. It makes sense, right? But it can become a problem for a couple different reasons. So one is the lower desire person has the control, not because they want it. In fact, mostly they don't want it. They don't like being in charge of this, but they are the one because they want something less. They're the one that's saying yes or no, or when, or how. It's like their hand is on the spigot. Okay, so this can lead to, well, first of all, it can be a lot of pressure for the lower desire person. They don't generally want this control, right? But it's baked in. And it can lead the higher desire person to kind of feel controlled, to feel resentful of that. Why does my partner have all the control? And what you have to understand is that's just the nature of somebody wanting something more than somebody else. And sometimes it's helpful to think of it in another arena, because it's not just in sex where there's a higher desire person and a lower desire person. This applies to all kinds of things. So if you think about somebody's got a higher desire for punctuality, right, for being on time for things, it kind of makes sense that their partner, who doesn't care so much about this, right, the lower desire person, has a lot of control about whether you actually get out the door on time. The higher desire person wants to be on time. They are ready. They have planned ahead. They know you got to be there at 8. We got to leave at quarter till. The lower desire person makes a choice, right, about how much they're going to, are they going to get ready on time? Are they, going to, have they allotted their time well enough to get out the door, right? So this higher desire, lower desire dynamic applies with all kinds of things. So it can be helpful to think of these other topics where this is relevant. And in fact, sometimes it's helpful to think, if you're the lower desire person around sex, where are you the higher desire person? Maybe it gives you a little bit of empathy for what it's like on the, on the other side of the equation. All right, so the lower desire person for sex has the control, not because they want it, but because that is baked into wanting something less than your partner. Okay. Another fact about desire discrepancy is it creates some pressure. It's sort of like air pressure, right? Somebody wants something more than somebody else. Just inherently that creates some pressure. Not because your higher desire person is pressuring you. Now they may be adding to the pressure, but it won't be true that there is none when you're aware that your partner wants something and you don't. That by itself, baked in, again, is some pressure. Okay, so that creates some complication. Then there are sort of what I call the traps of desire discrepancy. So for the higher desire person, well, actually for both people, it is a trap to pathologize the lower desire person, to think of them as broken, to think something must be wrong with them. They just don't have libido. Something is wrong. They should go to the doctor. They should see a therapist. They are the problem. That is a trap. That is not actually the truth. Now, there could be a lot of things going on that are blocking desire, and we have to be able to talk about that and deal with those obstacles, but nothing is inherently wrong with anybody's desire. We have to work with the person that we're with, right? We have to put this together in a way that creates a sex life that works for both of you. Okay, so it is a trap, it is a mistake to think something is wrong with the lower desire person. And often the higher desire partner thinks something's wrong with their partner, and the lower desire person comes in thinking something's wrong with them. Right? So both people sort of identify this lower desire partner as the problem. That is a trap. And that's a problem because it's not a very empowering place to be, to feel broken. Right? That does not motivate you to take this on and dive into this topic. You just feel bad about yourself. Right? That doesn't sort of show you, no, this everything is normal, this is working the way it works for me, we got to figure this out, let's look at the obstacles. Right? That's the kind of approach we want to take. It is a trap, and almost universally fallen into, at least by the people that come see me for trouble with their sex life, right? The higher desire person will take it personally. They take their partner's lack of desire or lower desire personally, and then they feel rejected. They don't feel desired. They don't feel attractive. They don't feel important. Whatever it is, they have added this meaning that it is about them and it's personal. And then they feel, well, first of all, they feel bad. I mean, they suffer, right? That's a lousy thing to feel. But it's kind of insidious. Because if if the higher desire person, let's just say HDP, takes it personally and feels rejected and then goes on this, some degree of some negative spiral when sex doesn't happen, this kind of poisons the sex. I mean, it changes the meaning because now sex is not, oh, this is this place we just go together. It's not a celebration. Now it gets this extra loaded pressure about, I need to have sex with you so you'll feel okay about yourself. So I can reassure you or validate you, or so that you'll feel better about us. All of a sudden, it's got this extra weight or job that it doesn't need. And that is going to start to be a deterrent for sex. It's actually going to hurt your partner's lower desire. It's going to add to that. It's going to make it harder and harder to want to engage in sex when I need to do it so you'll feel good about yourself. Now, I get easier said than done to stop taking it personally, but you really have to try to disconnect that. This is really about the nature of your partner's desire. Now, I guess I'll add, if you're doing things that make it personal, if you're doing things they don't like, or you're pressuring them, or I don't know, there's other things in your relationship where you're not showing up well, or you're being nasty, or you're not doing your share of the chores, or whatever, there can be things you're doing as a higher desire person that are creating barriers for sure. But the basic level of their desire is not about you. It's just about how desire works. Okay. So that is a serious trap that is going to make this worse in your relationship. Now, for the lower desire person, it is a trap to kind of insist that the pressure has to all come off before you can deal with this issue. As long as there's pressure on this, that shuts me down and I can't do it. Like I said, there's always pressure in the system when somebody wants something more than somebody else. You can't get away from that pressure. All right. So you have to be able to proceed kind of despite the pressure. You have to be willing to tackle this even though you don't know exactly what to do or it feels kind of heavy. All right. And it's a real trap as a lower desire person to be really passive about this. You need to take an active role in addressing the obstacles to your desire and creating sex and intimacy that would be engaging for you, that would give you a reason to want to participate. That cannot be something your higher desire person has to figure out and come up with. You need to take this role in it, but it is so common for the lower desire person, partly because they just feel broken and they don't know what to do, to sort of, sort of metaphorically sit in the corner, facing the corner and not do anything about this. And that's a real trap. We need both people really actively involved together to tackle this. Okay. So when I see desire discrepancy gone bad, which I do, there start to be a lot of negative feelings between, each person individually is having negative feelings about themselves, about the relationship. There can be all this fear and worry. You can start to really wonder, is something wrong with me? Is something wrong with my partner? And is something wrong with us? If you believe that this should just work, if you're with the right person, then when you hit these troubles, you can start to think, well, maybe I'm not with the right person. Maybe our relationship is doomed. Maybe we're not going to survive this. It can start to cause a lot of conflict and tension and tears and avoidance and distance. Like this can really impact the rest of your relationship. One of the things we sort of say in the sex therapy world is, when sex is working in a relationship, it feels like about, I don't know, 10%, 20% of your relationship. It's just one of the good parts. It's just one piece of the puzzle. Not overly important, but important, right? One pillar. When it's not working, sex can feel like 80% of your relationship. It gets so blown up. It can overshadow all the rest of the things that are working. It can really eat away at your sense of connection and closeness with your partner, and certainly your sense of security, right? And actually, it really can undermine your security. It's like a top reason for divorce, for infidelity, not dealing with your sexual issues with your partner. It really matters. So, what I hope you have gotten from this little discussion, one-way discussion from this presentation, is that desire discrepancy is normal, common. It does not have to be a problem. If it is a struggle in your relationship, if you are arguing about frequency, if there is avoidance about this, if it feels heavy and loaded and pressured, you have probably fallen into the traps of it, each of you in your own way, and you need to do it differently. Okay. So I do have a free masterclass, a webinar about an hour long called How to Make Sex Easy and Fun for Both of You. So it never feels like a chore. This is addressing desire discrepancy. And so I would really invite you to just sign up for that, watch that at your leisure, and take away some of the key principles of this so that this can no longer be a problem in your relationship, but just like one more great part of your life with your partner. So the link at Intimacy with Ease is my website. So intimacywithease.com/masterclass will get you to that webinar, to the sign up for that. And happy to answer questions as you're watching it or get in touch. I would love to support more people in overcoming this issue in their relationship. So thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the group.